So I talked about this before many times in the past, particularly with dog shit on the side on the footpaths. I've talked about that many times. I come across it literally every day of the week. And I have to deal with it every day of the week. And it's not just that. And I just want to say too. First of all, before we say anything else, it's important to think of other people, not just think of yourself. Nowadays, people just think of themselves. Never think of the person that is blind or has God forbid a child in a buggy, or somebody in a wheelchair that hasn't got the luxury of able to walk to the side of the street, right, or walk onto the road. People don't think of other people that are disabled, people with disabilities, things like that. And it's not right. It isn't right because they wouldn't like it if it happened to them, if they walked into the doctor and things like that. And the same with cars parked on the footpaths too. Footpaths are made for people to walk on, not for cars to park on, just to say. And obviously there's fines for that and they should be enforced. But the other thing that's obviously a big issue too is people putting wheelie bins and even shops with the signs, you obviously sandwich signs and stuff like that. Particularly for blind people, it can be particularly bad. Obviously, as you know, a blind person has no stick. It's hard. It's tough. It is tough, especially when you have loads of obstacles in the way. Uh, and obviously, to try and find a way of making sure people are safe, first of all, because again, we want people to be, even people that are blind and things, that they're able to walk the streets without fear of falling over and, God forbid, being hurt or being killed. Uh, blind people and even people with disabilities or even young children in wheelchairs or in buggies and things like that, our parents shouldn't have to worry about that. About going onto the roads and things like that, because how dangerous they are sometimes in some areas. Take for example, I give you an example in Cavan, and I know many of the councillors would straight away know exactly what I'm saying, because every day of the week it's happening, it's happening. One area particularly, we talk about St. Phelim's near the bus hours there in Cavan. It's desperate along that kind of stretch of the town. It is extremely desperate, particularly with dog shit. Let's call it without dog foul and politically correct language. But it's desperate, and particularly with the children going in half asleep in the morning, they're going to walk into it, let's be fair, and even the parents bringing their children to the school and stuff like that. Or even people coming in to visit Cavan with their suitcases and stuff like that, going up the town to the hotel, right? They could end up dragging their suitcase or their foot, and that's not a good experience for the county. And it doesn't look good in the town. And there's many other instances around the county I could mention, but there's one area in Virginia. I could think of a few areas in Bailey, I know of a few areas in Bertobert, particularly with dog fouling, and there's a few areas actually in the town too with cows parking on the footpaths that are extremely bad too. So I'm thinking of that areas too, particularly up. Now it's kind of hard to describe, but I suppose you would call it up. Well, it doesn't really matter. I tried to describe where it was because I don't really know exactly what you would call the area, but basically there's a few areas in the town that I know of off the top of my head, which I couldn't describe whereabouts it is. But it's out the Dublin Road anyway, but I couldn't really describe the exact position and where the cows would be. But oftentimes there's been cows parked on the footpaths and complaints made and nothing's been done about it. We have to start taking it serious, even though people say, it's not that used, particularly the Dublin Road footpaths going out the Dublin Road towards the Kilmore, right? They're not used that much, right? Fair enough. But at the end of the day, it's a public footpath. People are entitled to be safe, and that shouldn't have to go to the ends of the road or go to the other side of the road or cross the other side of the car to get to the other side of the footpath because the car crossed the footpath. And it's all about enforcement at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's all about trying to work with people and trying to reason with people. And obviously some people just won't listen, as simple as that. But that's why there's fines and punishments. Because again, some people are just too selfish in society nowadays. We even think about people with the dog letting out their dogs to shit along the whole roads and things like that. It's just pure selfishness, and they wouldn't let the dog go in their garden. They would have a fit if they let their dog go in their garden. So you can imagine many times I've come across dogs going in other people's gardens and things, and the owner knew about these things and stuff, and just didn't give a shit. No pun intended, but let's put it that way. It's the same with roads and things like that. And obviously, people even bringing the dog out for a walk, you have a responsibility to the community and to yourself, if you have any respect for yourself first of all. But you have a responsibility to the community, to everybody who walks on a footpath or a park, take for example, a responsibility, regardless of the blind, disabled, to only members of the public, even to the local authority, for the local authority members or people that have to go and clean up after it. And so many local authority members wouldn't do it because obviously the unions wouldn't be too happy with it because it's how the seizures you can get of it and all that. But obviously, I could write a book on it, to be totally honest. But yeah, long story short, there needs to be engagement first campaigns, and I do welcome the Clear Our Paths campaign that has been launched the other day. I do welcome that. It was on many of the news channels and on radio and things like that, and I do welcome it, and I do hope that maybe a few people might think, I might have a bit of a brain cell, the people that do it will think for themselves and be like, actually this is not good what I'm doing, I have to change my ways. And that would be good if people could reflect on their actions in some regards. I'm not saying everybody, but the people who are doing it, they reflect on what they're doing. But at the same time, we do need to be very harsh, and as I say, about the situation around St. Phelim's and different areas of the town too, and even in different parts of Cavan too. We kind of know, let's be fair, we know who's doing it. It's the fact that when it goes to court, because obviously on the spot fines they won't pay, and it has to go to court, and it takes donkey's years for it all go through, and it's just backlogs and backlogs and backlogs and delays and delays and delays. And it needs to be just straight enforcement, as simple as that, regardless of going to court and things. That's just, if you're doing it straight away, we have the evidence, enforcement, as simple as that. No two ways about it. If you're doing it, you're caught doing it. This shouldn't be an option to go to court. You should just pay the fine or community service, as simple as that. The same with people, not just harsh, obviously, people parking the cars and footpaths, but obviously should be fined. Not as serious, but obviously at the same time still serious for people that's disabled and people that's blind and things like that. It's not fair on them. And the same with probably businesses. We're not really businesses, you can just engage with the businesses. I'm sure they'll be very lenient, obviously, in terms of where they put the signs and things like that. The local authority said to them, look at where you put your sign is in a bad spot, right? People with a wheelchair couldn't get by it, right? Because it's kind of in the middle of a small narrow footpath, right? You'd be like, fair enough, could you move it to somewhere maybe, again, that will 99.9% of the time with businesses, they'd be like, yes, we will do that, we will move it to a more suitable space, and that'll be fine. But it's mainly them two issues that I think is the biggest thing. But again, it's all about engagement with the local authorities, with people, with local politicians, with community leaders, and all levels of society, to make sure that people are safe walking footpaths. I know in Dublin it's debatable whether people feel safe going anywhere at all, but the people are safe, and people shouldn't have to be watching every inch of the walk because they could be afraid to step into the dog. It's not the way it should go. Thank you.